secondary school, I remember I used to sit out on the football field with my friends, Godfrey and Egi, in the evening to watch the sunset. We would imagine kingdoms in the clouds and talk about the existence of a world beyond this one. Yes, we were Efikos. We shared the same passion for nature and for spirituality. We also shared the same passion for certain kinds of songs. I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, princess, now when did you last let your heart decide? For those kinds of songs. Our mates were into Tupac, Biggie, Snoop Dogg, but we were into, do you remember me? 'Cause I remember you. So it's not so long ago, you broke my heart in two. Yes, I was that kind of teenager. The kind of teenager that still carried very proudly and visibly on me the imprints of my own unique upbringing, because you see, I was raised by unconventional people. And I still carry the memories of playing outside in the rain, of coming inside drenched and having my mother wrap me in a warm blanket and spoon-feed me a hot bowl of pap. Memories of sitting around at night in the days before the television and mobile phones began to disrupt that organic gathering of hearts at sundown. Memories of sitting around at night listening to my older siblings tell stories. Stories of Umbe, the cunning tortoise, of the wicked stepmother. Memories of the songs that went with those stories. Nene, Udumara Namu. Nene, Udumara Namu. Udunjichuli Mama Songs and stories that left me with this abiding belief that when all is said and done, when the mountains have risen and fallen and the empires have come and gone, when the devil has shouted himself hoarse and men have done their worst, and when all is said and done, good will triumph over evil. That was the kind of teenager I was. The kind of teenager that was raised by believers. I was raised to believe in the power of imagination, in the superiority of spirit over flesh, of ideas over matter, in the beauty of books, in the potency of words and songs, poetry and dance, art and music. I was raised to find my way in the world by looking in, to not care so much about clothes and cars, to care much more about community and conviction. I was raised to be humble in victory, but dignified in defeat. To ignore insult, to ignore doubt, to answer those who denigrate me not by words, but by rising higher. I was raised to stand tall. I was raised to believe that when all is said and done, this is a moral universe ruled by a just God, and all disputes and controversies will be settled ultimately in favor of the truth. This is the kind of teenager I was. But then, Nigeria begins to happen to you. You lose a brother to roads that are bad because of corruption. You lose a dear friend to hospitals that insist that you open a file first, that you make a cash deposit first before they would even look at that emergency. You find yourself waiting in the waiting room of a politician from 7 in the morning to 6 in the evening because you are powerless, because you need their recommendation to get that job. It does not matter that you graduated with a 2-1. In that job, you find yourself being appraised not by the work of your hands, but by how quickly you jump to your feet to grab Madam's bag when she walks into the office. Because you are Igbo, you are passed over again and again for promotion. Because you are a Muslim, you find yourself stuck on one level, watching those of your colleagues that fellowship with Oga moving up in leaps and bounds, and in your frustration, you begin to grow dark. You begin to grow toxic. You begin to tell your children that the eternal laws of God, the law of sowing and reaping, the law of justice, the law of love, the eternal laws of God do not apply here. Here, shine your eye. Here, no party for trouble. Here, chop and clean mouths. In your frustration, you begin to grow toxic. You begin to tell yourself that here, in this country, the righteous perish while the wicked rejoice. Like this, you begin to lose faith. Until one day, you hear a song. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain. We all have lost. And suddenly, something long buried within you begins to stir. Or maybe you hear a poem. No matter how straight the gates, how charged with punishment the scroll, I am the master of my own fate. I am the captain of my own soul. And suddenly, something long buried within you begins to stir. Or maybe you read a book, the tales of those who survived Holocausts, the stories of those who survived the Middle Passage and 400 years of slavery and still went on to become kings and queens in new places. Maybe you read a story of those who were born deaf but still wrote symphonies, of those who were born blind but still painted visions, of those who were born crippled but still walked to the top of the highest mountains, and suddenly something long buried within you begins to stir. And that deep inner movement in the depths of your soul forces you to look up at the skies, to the same skies that have watched over you since the day you were born. You look up to the skies and suddenly you begin to see again what you saw when you were still young and your heart yet unfettered. There, you see that kingdom in the clouds. There, you see the light breaking relentlessly through the darkness. There, you see the sun rising again and again and again. And so, you close your eyes and say to yourself, to your heart, to your spirit, to your humanity, you close your eyes and say to yourself, to this darkness trying to swallow you whole, you close your eyes and say to yourself, I will not die. This is why we sing. This is why we dance. This is why we draw. This is why we write poem after poem after poem. So that our spirits, no matter the pressure this world puts on it, may not die. And so, I like to write poetry that can stand up to scrutiny. Any day, any time, if you check out each rhyme, they'll still make sense. Not talking nonsense. They'll talk about freedom, loving and living, striving and being, of constantly becoming, for this is a craft. It's not for the daft. The lazy or blind can't see with your mind. It's not just to say it, but how you convey it. It's not just about rhyming, but rhyming with reason. A poet can hold you, caress and cajole you with nothing but speech. A poet can teach that life is a marvel that we can unravel by looking intently with minds that are free. A poet can free you with one line, release you by showing the essence, unmasking the pretense, by making it plain, the root of your pain. A poet can tell you those things that are true. A poet can capture the waves and the seashore, the bending of trees and the breath of the breeze, the softness of silence. A poet can make it all make sense. The struggle and strife in this beauty that's life. Look, words have that matter, that power to cut through the matter, for once men can see, they will always be free. A poet in essence, in one simple sentence, has mastered the art of touching the heart. For words have that power to cut through the matter, and truth, once it's spoken, can never be broken. This is the burden, the height of the calling of those who would claim it, the title